A lot to talk about.
We are going to have to fight. We're going to have to struggle. We're going to have to struggle relentlessly to bring about the
Street Science, you're on the air. What do you feel when you hear a record like Tupac's new one?
I love Tupac's new record.
Right, but don't you feel like that creates tension between East and West? He's talking about killing people. I had sex with your wife, and not in those words. But he's talking about, I want to see you deceased.
To live and die in L.A., California. What you say about Los Angeles? Still the only place for me. It never rains in the sun. To live and die in L.A., where every day we try to fatten our pockets. I stick and hustle for the cash, so it's hard to knock it. Everybody got their own thing, currency chasing. Worldwide through the hard times, worrying faces. Shed tears as we bury getting close to heart. What was a friend, now a ghost in the dark. Cold part about it, getting got smoked by a fiend. Trying to floss on him, blind to a broken man's dream. A hard lesson, court cases keep him guessing. Plea bargain ain't an option now, so I'm stressing. Cost me more to be free than a life in the pen. Making money off of cuss words, writing again. Learn how to think ahead, so I fight with my pen. Late night down sunset, like in the sin. What's the worst they can do to me? Got me lost in hell to live and die in LA. On bail, my angels.
KBLA Talk 1580. Time for our daily deep dive. Today we're going in two parts, and I'm pleased to welcome in founder and CEO of Second Call, a violence reduction and re-entry organization serving the greater Los Angeles area. He served as executive board member for the Southern California Ceasefire Committee and currently sits on two highly distinguished boards in Los Angeles County. Skip Townsend, good morning.
Good morning, Dominique. How are you?
I'm blessed and highly favored. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm alive and well, so I don't complain after that.
Alive and well. Well, you know, I know condolences to you, first of all. I know that, quiet as it's kept, the loss of Harry Belafonte, the actor, the singer, the activist, was felt here in L.A., not just in Hollywood and not just on the East Coast.
Oh, yeah. Harry was a mentor of mine, but he was also a mentor of my mentors. He was a mentor of Darren Bo Taylor and the singer James Ingram, who were both my mentors as well. So, I appreciate Harry for giving up his life, his time, his legacy to spend with individuals here in L.A. and all that he did for people across the world. A lot of people just don't know how vital and important he was.
I think that's true. I mean, you read the tributes and stuff, and they talk about his friendship with Dr. Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and, you know, all that he did to open doors for black performers, the way he funded SNCC and all of these things. But it sounds like olden times, you know, like old civil rights, you know, glory. And the reality, at least in my understanding and experience of Harry Belafonte, is that activism was very much present and accounted for in the modern day America.
Yes, indeed. I mentioned Bo Taylor and James Ingram. I failed to mention Tavis Smiley, the owner of the radio station, you know, because the four of them took a trip to Africa. And, you know, what's important about these trips is that it's relationship building, not between them, but between the people that Harry had relationships with. He gave, you know, like the president of Venezuela, he gave Bo Taylor a relationship with the president of Venezuela. Imagine that. So there was so much that they were drawing from each other, but Harry was just the ultimate. He was just the king of teachers. He was the leader of leaders, where when he would talk, I could, you know, the whole room would go quiet.
Yeah.
So I truly appreciate all the knowledge, experience, you know, and you talk about SNCC. I was invited to the 50th anniversary of SNCC, and the relationships that I got there, you know, with the freedom fighters, the freedom singers, all the people. I met all the children of the struggle, you know, Mayor of D.C.'s son, Chris. You know, I met, of course, Gina and Sherry Belafonte, but all the children were there, and we were together, and they were talking about how important their fathers were, but they weren't at home because they were given of their life. so they would see him on TV. They would rarely see him at home. And Gina, Gina, not to speak for Gina or the Belafonte family, but Gina said, yes, Skip, it was the same with me. I would see my dad on TV. So it's like, they really gave of their life to help humanity, not just the civil rights, but human rights. A lot of rights they were asking for weren't even civil. It's like, can we just have the normal human rights?
Yeah, that's true. And I love that, you share how he shared his relationships, because when Harry Belafonte asks, most people are going to do whatever the thing is. And I think the fact that he understood, for those who don't know Bo Taylor or Darren Bo Taylor or even Skip, I mean, they're some of the architects of the urban peace movement that we have here in Los Angeles, which I always say this, everyone benefits from it, whether they know about it or not, because we have gone from, a city that's, among the top cities for homicides and street violence to one that's become a world leader in curbing and abating street violence and homicides. And Skip and Bo Taylor and many others are part of that being possible. And it's interesting to me that Harry Belafonte, who had his first huge hit, I think in 1955 or 1956, could fast forward to the 1990s, could see that the potential of your leadership, the importance of Bo Taylor's leadership, and was able, had the ability to be completely planted in what was important for the modern community, the modern black man and woman to thrive in their community.
Let me share with you that maybe 2010, 2011, I was in New York with Harry, and he had a star-studded cast. They were on the phone. We were at Kenneth Cole's house, the designer, and he had me and Nani Alejandra stand up, and he said, these are my guys. These are the ones who are following in my footsteps. These are the ones who are doing the work that I did. And I'm telling you, a star-studded group in there, and they all clapped and said, that's great, that's wonderful, and none of them followed through. None of them came to say, how can I support? What can I do? These are actors, singers, famous people.
Rich
and I'm saying,
people.
oh, okay,
yeah.
well, yeah, rich people. And I wasn't even asking for money. I just come go to the school with me. Come walk in the prisons with me. I was going into the women's prison, and they were like hopeless. The young girls were having fun being there. So I'm thinking, okay, Harry then introduced me to a star-studded cast. I won't mention their names, but and they didn't call back. They didn't come through. They didn't return the emails. And that's what gets me, when this is a man who has given his career to help other people, and everybody wants to sit next to him and sit under him. And when he gives the instructions, the people who didn't follow through, that's what makes me say they really, truly don't understand the work that's being done. And a lot of people are waiting on Martin Luther King Jr. to come back, or even Jesus Christ to come back. But we had Harry right here with us. God gave him 96 years, where most people didn't get 40.
Right.
Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, if they got 40, it was 39 and a half, So here he gave us Harry Belafonte for 96 years, and I think he was overlooked for the last part of his years.
Well, I also think that it's really what you just shared about that story at Kenneth Cole's house shows you how special Harry Belafonte really was, because he was able to move in those circles, but yet he would return the email. He would go to the prison. He would do the follow-up. Right. And that's what made him so special. It wasn't just about a photo op. It wasn't just about a slogan. It was a lifelong commitment to bettering the planet Earth for black people and all people. We're talking with Skip Townsend. He's a leader of Second Call. Find out more about what they are up to. And you're welcome to share if you want to share and have some conversation. 800-920-1580. It's KBLA Talk 1580.
Say the quiet part out loud. KBLA Talk 1580. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 joins you in standing for voting rights. When We All Vote is a leading national nonpartisan initiative on a mission to change the culture around voting and to increase participation in each and every election by helping to close the race and age gap. Created by Michelle Obama, When We All Vote brings together individuals, institutions, brands, and organizations to register new voters across the country and advance civic education for the entire family and voters of every age to build an informed and engaged electorate for today and generations to come. When We All Vote empowers their supporters and volunteers to take action through voting, advocating for their rights, and holding their elected officials accountable. Please visit whenweallvote.org to stand up for your rights, voting rights. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Thanks to our new sponsor, Lendistry. Lendistry is a national Black-led small business lender that is headquartered in Los Angeles. Lendistry helps small business owners access the affordable capital needed to grow. Visit Lendistry, LENDISTRY.com/KBLA today.
The Los Angeles Urban League and Parkside Economic Development Corporation are working to close the wealth gap between black and white households. B-Warp, the Black Wealth Attainment and Retention Program's free virtual workshops will help your family acquire, gain, maintain, and pass down legacy wealth. Learn from the experts about making more with what you have, the Black history of money, joining the Smart Investors Club, preserving your assets in tough times, crypto, cash in or cash out, the wealthy mind and body. Register for this free series that could change your financial future at laul.org/BWAARP. Don't miss B-Warp, the Black Wealth Attainment and Retention Program, every second and fourth Thursday in February, March, and April at 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Register now at laul.org/BWAARP.
The IRS is the most powerful collection agency on earth. And if you owe back taxes, the news isn't good. The IRS is raising the interest rate it charges on unpaid taxes, and further rate hikes are expected. Most people don't know it, but the IRS adds interest charges on your tax debt daily. So if you owe the IRS today, you will owe even more tomorrow. And it doesn't stop until you get right with the IRS. The good news is, getting right can start with one phone call to Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax relief firm. Optima's tax professionals specialize in the Fresh Start Initiative, a powerful IRS program that can save you thousands if you qualify. In fact, the experts at Optima Tax have resolved over $1 billion in tax debt for their clients. Call now for a free consultation.
Call 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DePrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
And you're also waking up with Skip Townsend of Second Call. Darren Bo Taylor, who we were talking about earlier, was the founder of Unity One, along with others here in the city of Los Angeles. Really took the whole gang intervention prevention work to another level. Back then it wasn't widespread. It wasn't part of city government, was not recognized by anybody, and nobody was getting paid for it. Skip Townsend has an organization called Second Call, and you said Bo was one of your mentors, and he was mentored by Harry Belafonte, but you were also mentored by Harry Belafonte, as was James Ingram. That I didn't really know, although I saw them together. I didn't know about that mentorship connection between those two men. I know that James was another big supporter of the Peace on the Streets movement, another who would show up, take the email, take the call, but just for a baseline here, Skip, tell us what Second Call does.
Well, Second Call, it starts off where we save lives every day. We use every tool necessary, whether it's through gang intervention, whether it's through our trauma-informed life skills, whether it's domestic violence, anger management classes, or doing outreach in the prisons and different middle schools and high schools. The idea is to make better people and not better employees. A lot of people know that we're the job coordinators right there at Destination Crenshaw, right behind the radio station. They know that we're ambassadors at Lamert Park, and we also have guys who work at the K-Line. So these are just outlets that we use to do outreach with people to make sure that the community is safe. We want to be the first responders. We want to be an alternative to 911. When people are missing, can we help look for them? When there's a mental health breakdown in the park, can we handle it, call the family, or maybe even call the paramedics? But let's, have as least amount of police contact with the community, because sometimes it's viewed as threatening, it's viewed as intimidating, even though they might be good people, might be good officers that are coming out, but just by the badge and the gun and the demeanor when they come, it's often taken back. So we just want to be the first in the community to respond and see if we can handle issues and concerns, save some lives if we can, and that's pretty much what Second Call does.
Yeah, and you've been doing it for a while.
Yeah, so we started in 2006. I started actually with Bo Taylor in 2005, but in 2006 there was a gap, a gray area, and I saw that Unity 1 was separating. There was now a Unity 2 and a Unity 3 and a Unity 2 Chapter 2, and there were certain things that Bo just was steadfast, committed to, and he wouldn't waver, to city and government funding. And, he wanted to go through, life. If they had to tear down a building or clean some grass, he had a hot dog cart, he had a tow truck, whatever he had to do to be self-sufficient and not be dependent on city officials to fund anything that Unity 1 did. So it created a gap where, Helper Foundation, which has been since 2000. So all of us created our agencies out of Unity 1. And a lot of people don't understand or know that, but yeah, I could name a whole bunch.
But as you well know, I do, because when I first came to LA, Unity 1 is one of the first groups that I encountered through the help of one of my assistants at the time, who was Angelino. I met in the back room of a radio station called The Beat with about 20 guys from Unity 1. Welcome to LA, and it was one of the best things that actually ever happened to me in terms of being able to serve this community in a way that's competent and relevant. And as you say, that work continues, even though we still have those organizations in whatever form they're in now. All of these other organizations have come out of it. Why do you suppose Harry Belafonte felt like, this urban peace, and it's more than urban peace. I mean, like you said, it's about making better people, opportunities, saving lives. Why do you think he was attracted specifically to this work?
I think I can't speak for Harry, but I think that it's a humanitarian issue, and the same things that he saw in the 50s and 60s were they were oppressors. And now I believe that when there was nobody else to trip on, we started tripping on each other. And he understood that we became the oppressors of ourselves. So I think that he wanted to just show and let us know that there were third world countries. There were people who were living less fortunate than us. And that's what I think he wanted to take Bo and Tavis and James to show them how other people live, and with the hopes that each one of them would use their talents, whatever they were good at, to highlight the fact that everything they've learned. So Bo, of course, would take it back to the streets and sit us down and show us pictures and talk about these things. So it was about education, really, in my opinion. I think that Harry was looking to find a replacement for himself. He needed someone to be that person that he was to everybody else.
I
think he gathered the team together.
It's so ironic that both James Ingram and Bo Taylor died before Harry Belafonte did.
Right.
That's
right.
Really sad.
He outlived them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really sad. But I mean, I think, I don't know that any of us is going to step up and be Harry Belafonte, but everybody can take a piece of the puzzle, a piece of the work, and just do a small part, right?
I think that we can. I think that we can. I don't know if we can outlive 96, but I think that we can probably, and I ask God every day, I want to make it, but if there's some things that we could take, Paul Robeson taught Harry some things Or just in talking, he shared with me that stood out, like his song. Paul Robeson told him, don't sing your own song. Let others sing your song. And to me, that's like for everybody who walks up into an interview or walks into a room and says who they are and talks about how many Grammys or Emmys they have or, what they've accomplished in life. That's singing your song. Let other people sing it. So a lot of times when I go in a room and people say, okay, I'm the leader of this and I'm the founder of that. And I say, hey, I'm with Second Call. And they say, you're with Second Call? Yes, I've been with Second Call for, from the beginning. But I don't have to say I'm the founder, I'm the leader, it was me and Kenny Smith or Big John Hill. I don't have to say any of that. All I have to do is say I'm with Second Call. And that way it's well-rounded, and it's kind of a humbling experience where I don't have to sing my song. So I never met Paul Robeson. If he stood in front of me, I wouldn't know what he looks like. But just by him putting whatever he put into Harry, and Harry putting that into myself and others, I think that's what life is about. Does the cycle of knowledge continue? And in Harry's case, it does.
That's really well said. Because it's funny, we were talking earlier in the show about, what it means to be a healthy, functional black man, right? And it's kind of beautiful to think about Paul Robeson, who I would know. I've never met him, of course, but I would know because he's one of my idols. If I saw him, that he passed down to Harry and Harry passed down to you, and you have seeded countless other young people, that there's at least a line of continuity when it comes to what we seek and what our ethical sort of framework is.
Right. I totally agree. And, I can't leave out certain people as well when we talk about Harry Belafonte. Can't leave out Connie Rice, right, who was very instrumental in, bringing, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, she brought Bo Taylor to Harry Belafonte. So I want to include her and the legacy of work that she has done with the community, as well as Jim Brown. Jim Brown took in people when he didn't have to. He could have stayed up in his Hollywood Hills home, but he invited everybody together, and it was through their creation of the American program that Jim saw, okay, we're missing one person, this guy here. He kept asking, who is that? I need him, and that was Bo Taylor. So, now Bo was instrumental in bringing, those guys together, bringing the different groups together, but I think it's a collaboration of all those that were involved back in the
right.
80s,
yeah, and a chain of teaching, a chain of respect. Connie Rice for sure. That makes sense. I know that Connie Rice, she was on talking about it, Mr. Belafonte yesterday with Tavis. If you missed it, check out our app. You can find all the podcasts there or wherever you get your podcast. It makes sense because I remember when I met Connie Rice, when I first came to LA, she was pretty much the only one that besides me that had their foot in what we would call normal mainstream society, corporate America, the political circles, who was not afraid or put off by the title, of gang member or, gang intervention worker, neighborhood advocate. People would just run from that like they were in the movie Colors or something, as opposed to now where it's a normal part of our city infrastructure, and the way we talk about violence reduction, violence prevention includes people from the communities that know the communities, that have the influence in those circles. Back then, that wasn't a thing, and I just remember Connie Rice. She would go anywhere, talk to anybody, and bring Bo and others with her.
Right. No, she was. I remember there was a melee at the gym at Jim Gilliam Park. Two groups from Watts was playing basketball, and it just turned all bad. Police were everywhere. Fighting was going on, and I stood next to, of all people, I'm standing next to Connie Rice and Guillermo Cespedes, and I'm saying, hey, I got to get you guys up out of here. And Connie said, Skip, you need to go outside and break up some of those fights. I'm going to be all right. And I just felt like, she felt like she could protect me as opposed to me protecting her.
Well, Attorney Rice is a black belt, so she might have been able to protect you. But I mean, I think you're right. It's the fearless mentality that stands out, and it makes sense that Connie Rice and Harry Belafonte were as close as they were. Skip, how can we help you? How can we not be those folks at the Kenneth Cole party that don't call back? Because, I mean, you talk about the connections, the shared connections. So to me, that means some of the people are doing the work. Some of the people are supporting the movement. How can we be some of those people?
Well, I think the main part is just to get, like you said, answer the phone calls. I've never asked anybody for any money. However, I do ask for their participation. We still go into the prisons. We still have about 5 or 6 classes online, and we have in-person classes. We're still on 35th and Normandy. We're still in Pasadena. We just came back, had a trip to Sacramento. There are different things that we do. There are more people who are being let out of prison who have no career chances, so we're looking for different opportunities. If they hire ex-felons or parolees, contact Second Call, because we take them through a process. We want to make sure that they learn how to deal with anger, learn how to deal with emotions, how to deal with low self-esteem, depression. We don't want to put people out there simply because they need a job. We want to put them out there because they're healthy, and we know they're healthy representations of our community. So I would say just get in touch with Second Call. Our numbers on the website. It's www.secondcall.org. That's the number 2, NDCALL.org. And, there's a number of things that we could do to maybe raise money or to help different families. There's so much that people need that we're never going to run out of issues.
And yes, indeed, it is 323-763-2888. Second Call. Skip Townsend, thanks for all the work you do. Thanks for sharing with us this morning.
Thank you for having me, Dominique.
News, traffic, and sports, and then another important story about black women and keeping us safe. KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
I'm Mike Moore, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. President Biden will soon be hitting the campaign trail in his bid for re-election. At age 80, he's the oldest American president, and Republicans are already making a big deal out of that.
Biden's age will be a theme throughout the campaign, particularly if he stumbles verbally or physically.
SMU political analyst Cal Jolson says that age is a valid concern. As you get older, it's more likely that a medical issue will pop up. Former President Obama says he's proud of the Biden administration's accomplishments over the last few years. In a tweet following President Biden's announcement he's officially seeking a second term, Obama tweeted that Biden has delivered for the American people and will continue to do so when he's reelected. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
If you're a late-night snacker, listen up. Buffalo Wild Wings created a menu of late-night food and drinks starting at $4, 10 till close, full of tasty apps and ice-cold beer to wash it all down. Limited time at participating locations. Offers, days, and times may vary. Drink responsibly. Void or prohibited. Tax and fees extra.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A frustrating season is over for the Clippers. They lose by 6 in Phoenix last night. The Suns win the first-round series in 5 games. They play Denver in the next round. Gotta give major respect to the Clippers for hanging in there without Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. They were down 20 in the fourth quarter and got to within 2 in the final 2 minutes. Devin Booker led the Suns with 47 points. Norman Powell had 27 for the Clippers. The Lakers will try to close out Memphis tonight in Game 5. Key question for the Lakers, did they get enough rest after an emotional overtime win Saturday night in Game 4? LeBron played 45 minutes. Anthony Davis and Austin Reeves played 42. The Lakers appear to be healthy. No players are on the team's injury report. Tip-off time at 4:30 on TNT. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Tell me you're the boy that girl. I'm young, gifted, and black.
KBLA Talk 1580, we do more than just talk.
Hey there, I'm Jared Hill, president of the National Association of Black Journalists of Los Angeles, and I just want to say thank you for the benevolent $10,000 donation and scholarships for the next generation of black journalists.
And I'm Haywood Galbraith, photojournalist and founder of the Minority Photojournalism Institute. Thanks, KBLA, for your generous $10,000 scholarship gift to help us train the next generation of black photojournalists.
Congratulations to all the students who will benefit from the scholarship dollars raised at our Black History Month luncheon, honoring black legends in LA media. When we come forward at KBLA Talk 1580, we're bringing everybody with us. Everybody with us. Everybody with us. Everybody with us. Everybody with us.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, Maisha Cairo here, KBLA, live at Chase Bank on Crenshaw and Vernon for the In This Together tour with female business owners, a day of empowerment, community panels, and best of all, tips on building business from marketing to capital. I was able to speak with one of the panelists, the owner of Kids Love. Take a listen.
So Kids Love, KIDSLUV, is a first-to-market zero-sugar vitamin-enhanced functional beverage for kids.
So the zero sugar is really important because if not, the sugar gets on the teeth, it can cause cavities. So as a mom, I love this vitamins and hydration in one. Tell us what's happening here with Chase Bank today.
So I would say, I think what Chase is trying to do is create a community actually for entrepreneurs, a place where people can go. They have the space to do it. It's a beautiful space. And to be able to have these conversations. There are so many benefits to being a women-owned and certified business from a standpoint of getting into stores, not paying the slotting fees of what it takes to be in stores. So I think Chase is trying to bring awareness to a lot of the things that people just don't know about, that not only the bank can help, but outside of the bank, their relationships can help create.
That's beautiful. And I know, this is how we build equity in communities of color, is kind of spreading that information and that knowledge. So thank you for being here today and doing your part and letting these women know that it is possible.
For KBLA 1580, I'm Maisha Cairo in the community with Chase.
Mom's early Alzheimer's diagnosis was hard to take.
And when I left the oven on, we decided together that it was time to see a doctor and make a plan.
Early detection gave us more time to seek out information and support as a family.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. For more information, visit alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where everybody is somebody and nobody is a stranger. You belong here.
And today, we're welcoming in another guest for the second half of the final hour of our show. She is an LA mom. She is now speaking out about her experience in childbirth, becoming an activist, traveling to Washington to tell her story, and seeking to educate others and also get justice for herself. Bianca Dickerson Williams, welcome.
Hi, Dominique. Thank you so very much for having me.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for calling in. Thank you for speaking out, being transparent, brave. There's been a lot of talk about Black women and the care that we get or don't get during childbirth, right? It's starting to become one of those issues, maternal health, that is making waves. But this has been a long, long time coming. And it sounds like the experience that you underwent really took place before this came into the national consciousness.
That is correct. The timing, in terms of it coming into the national consciousness, I thought was an indicator that...
Okay, her phone is breaking up. Let's see if we can fix that, because we don't have much time here, and I want to make sure we get the story of Bianca Dickerson Williams, and what led her to become an outspoken advocate for women. Crazy as it seems, the United States has the highest maternal mortality rate among any developed nation. Do we have Bianca Dickerson Williams back on the phone?
I am back, Dominique.
Yeah,
Sorry about that. Is this better?
Yeah, that's better. So you said the timing was interesting of when this became a hot button issue.
Correct. So I went in to deliver at UCLA Hospital on May 5th of 2015 for my second child. Everything had been normal up until that point. I was 40 weeks, and my doctor asked to induce me. And I think the reason why I'm stating that, as you mentioned, it's become more of a national issue currently. I wasn't aware how prevalent this actually is, not only in Black communities, but just with other women of color as well. Living here in Los Angeles and being very close to so many different indigenous communities as well, they also have horrific numbers. And I had been waiting for several years for my case against UCLA Hospital and some of the doctors to actually be heard. And what I have found is that our judicial system and our medical system is no different than any other systemic institution that we come against, such as police departments and things of that nature. I, for a while, thought that I was the only one that this was happening to. And as the years progressed, I slowly began to learn that I am one of several women that this has happened to, and also in a large minority pool of women who've actually survived. So as you previously mentioned with regards to some of the statistics, the Center for Disease Control has reported on numerous occasions that Black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to die or be injured in childbirth than any other race. California, as a state, had worse numbers than that, and our numbers were 6 times more likely to die or be injured during childbirth. And it became a mission of mine because my life was spared, and I felt that everything that I've experienced as a mom and as a Black woman in the healthcare system, that I had an obligation, to share my story. As I've been going through this process, I can't tell you how many families I've met or how many women that I've spoken to who said, "Oh, my child died immediately after after I'd given birth," or "When I complained of pain, I was ignored," or "No one took my complaint seriously," or "I was judged with regards to the type of insurance that I had." And very often you hear that the reason why the statistical data is what it is because Black women don't have access to good health care. They live in lower economic neighborhoods. They are not in access to, let's say, a good hospital like UCLA, or they didn't take care of their bodies during the maternal period. It typically is some sort of blame on us versus taking accountability by the physicians or these large hospitals that we are, entering in. And what I've also noticed is that everyone is saying we need to go back to using doulas and midwives, and that something has to be done about this. Too many of us are dying and being injured unnecessarily. And as I really sit and think about this, Dominique, we had better health outcomes 50 years ago.
Which is insane. I mean, it's interesting, too. You say people judge for the type of insurance they have. And I think the prevalent attitude is, well, she must be, smoking crack or smoking cigarettes or drinking, or like it must somehow be her fault. And as we, peel back the layers of this onion, we find out that's not the case at all. That really, for the most part, what we're talking about is systemic racism and problems in the system. You said you were educated, you have a JD, you had great insurance, a PPO, and you live in a, top-notch neighborhood. And it reminds me of, us watching Serena Williams go through this and say, wait, what? If this can happen to Serena, what happens to an under-resourced family?
That's right. And I think that's the thing that's been most compelling for me is that I checked all of the boxes that research says is needed to prevent this problem. And the only thing that I did not check is that I was not a white woman. I was a woman of color. And I remember the moment pretty vividly when I began to feel, oh my goodness, my race is actually at play right now. And I had been complaining of significant pain postpartum. And given the fact that this was my second child, I knew that I was experiencing a level of pain that was not normal. And I complained, I screamed, I hollered, I begged for help, and I was ignored. No one took the time to investigate my pain. And not only did they not take the time to investigate my pain, because my complaints were so severe, they decided to send a social worker to see me instead of a medical physician to actually investigate or examine my body. And when that social worker walked in and sat at my bedside and explained to me what her role was, that was really the moment for me where I said, okay, they're more concerned about me being a mental patient than they are about me just being physically harmed by something that has occurred. And then I'm being asked, well, do you have diapers at home? Do you have a car seat? And that is where I'm really starting to think, oh boy, I'm really in trouble here, because they think that I'm not even prepared for this baby. And why would they think that when I have given no indication at that point in terms of my financial status? I could see if I had appeared to maybe even be a 16-year-old teenager. But even with that being said, we're all entitled to receive proper care despite our age, our neighborhood, our socioeconomic status, or even what hospital we're at. And UCLA in Los Angeles has a phenomenal reputation, even throughout the state. So this experience was completely unexpected, and not only unexpected, heartbreaking for me and for my family, because we went in thinking that this was going to be the happiest day of my life, but instead it turned into a complete and utter nightmare. I'm glad I made it out alive, but my mission, even for this call, is to advance racial equality and civil justice for women of color, and to eliminate some of the disparities and inequities that we see. It really starts in a grassroots fashion, and then sort of working your way up. I have spoken before Congress. I have met with several members of the Biden administration. They are aware that this is a national pandemic and that it needs to be addressed. Governor Newsom last year passed legislation called the Omnibus Act, and that was due to the level of deaths that we are witnessing in Black and brown communities. And it's taken a lot of people to galvanize to even get that passed, but we still need funding, and we still need to keep this a top-of-mind issue,
yes,
so that we don't lose momentum.
Hold that thought. We're talking with Bianca Dickerson-Williams. I want to find out what exactly happened. I mean, you're talking about pain, you're talking about this lawsuit, but what was it that took it from just an uncomfortable birth to a medical disaster, really? Continuing this conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominic DePrima when we come forward.
Governor Newsom and advocates at impasse over funding for Black students. Maisha Cairo here with your K-Black Minute News, brought to you by Lendistry. Story courtesy of CaliforniaBlackMedia.org. Mid-April, the Black in School Coalition met, and there were over 2,500 K-12 students, parents, and education advocates, plus civil rights leaders, marched to the California State Capitol to demand increased funding for Black students in the state's public schools. They were all calling on the governor and California legislature to not move forward with the equity multiplier in Newsom's education budget, which was made to substitute AB 2774, which would have granted funding for the state's lowest performing group, Black students. But advocates say Newsom's proposal falls short of that goal. All in all, the Black in School Coalition is calling for more support for Black students in California schools.
Are you between 18 and 26 years old and trying to find out how you're supposed to make all this work? If you've said, I need a job and some transportation, rent, it's so high. Food too. There's childcare and I need to go back to school. I need to transform my life. Well, help is on the way. Transform Your Life Day is coming Saturday, April 29th at San Manuel Stadium. It's a shopping mall of free community services where you can talk with programs and even enroll right on the spot. It's free help for young adults to get you started on meaningful careers, finish up your diploma or your college degree. There's help with finding housing, transportation, food, and childcare. Plus, you get a free ticket to the 66ers game, free parking along with prizes. Get there early for free free food. Reserve your free space today at ccc.ca.gov. That's ccc.ca.gov. ccc.ca.gov.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. South Central Youth Empowered Through Action is the youth component of the impactful CBO, known as the Community Coalition. South Central Youth Empowered Through Action has chapters at almost every South LA high school. Say Yeah, as they are popularly known, is located at 80th and Vermont, but serves young people all over South LA. Under the COCO umbrella, they train youth organizers, help underserved scholars prepare for college, and work with students to help them gain admission to top universities. South Central Youth Empowered Through Action fosters teen activism, where young people have led campaigns moving tens of millions of dollars to South LA schools and forcing officials to make AP classes available to students in under-resourced institutions. SCEL scholars have taken part in the March on Washington, been published in major news outlets, and been elected to city council. Long before she was mayor, Karen Bass started the program when she founded the Community Coalition. To donate, volunteer, or enroll a student in South Central Youth Empowered Through Action, please visit cocsouthla.org. cocsouthla.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Broadcasting live from Leimert Park, USA. Welcome back to your home for unapologetically progressive radio, KBLA Talk 1580.
And so pleased to have with us this morning Bianca Dickerson Williams is an LA mom who really suffered a life-altering injuries at UCLA Medical Center. We kind of skipped over that. We went right into the activism, the lawsuit, and your work to find justice for other women. You said you felt pain. You'd had a child before, felt pain. It sounds like the whole childbirth itself was problematic prior to that, with them not having the proper bed for you and inducing labor early at the convenience of the physician as opposed to what was best for the patient. But then what takes it from an inconvenient or uncomfortable birth where they send a social worker instead of a doctor when you're in pain to a medical disaster that's life-altering and worthy of a lawsuit? I mean, because suing hospitals is not an easy task. They make it very difficult. You got to be kind of brave and gritty to do that.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that, Dominique. And to say that it's been challenging is an understatement. But while I was in the hospital, I was complaining of significant pain. I couldn't think of any reason why it was so severe, to the point where I was grabbing on my mother. I put my nails so deep into her that her arm started to bleed. That's how severe the pain was. I was given significant narcotics that weren't doing anything. I was not responding to them. I was discharged from the hospital, and for 6 months within the UCLA system, I stayed, and I was never even to get blood work drawn, lab test, an MRI, an ultrasound, nothing. I was just basically being told to go home. And what ended up happening was during the delivery, it was a vaginal birth. As my daughter was coming out, the nurse dropped my leg, and my daughter was ripping through my body. I was under an epidural, so I did not feel anything that was happening. So it was not a big deal to me, and they put my leg back into position. But what ended up happening was I sustained numerous nerve injuries to the lower spine as well as in my pelvis. And it caused some significant trauma. And the repair that was done also caused significant trauma. I had nerves that were actually trapped. And that was why I was having such excruciating and severe pain, stabbing sensations, needle-like pain, really throughout my lower extremities and from the waist down. And I needed intervention right away to interrupt the pain cycle. And that intervention never came. And by the time I was evaluated out of state, nonetheless, it was a situation where the injuries had become permanent. And had they stepped in and ordered the appropriate test, all of that could have been prevented. So my diagnosis had been significantly delayed. And that's a part of why I think as women, we need to start owning our own bodies and advocating for ourselves, even when a medical professional tells us something different, in terms of us knowing our body better than they do.
Yeah, I think that is one of the things, that's like a refrain for me. It's the chorus to one of my songs. Just because a person has a white coat doesn't mean that they're the boss of you. I mean, yeah, of course, listen to your doctors, but you also have to listen to your body.
Correct.
So, I mean, where are you now? You said these changes are not reversible. Are we looking at a long-term injury disability situation?
Yeah, so I'm going to require medical treatment for the rest of my life. There are different treatments that are out there that are considered effective, just for managing the pain and making your quality of life as healthy and stable as possible. But, I go to physical therapy a few days a week. I'm required to do a certain number of injections every quarter. And it is to do very basic things, if I'm being completely honest with you. So it was a catastrophic injury. And I never thought that going in to deliver a child would look like what it did the second time around.
Mm.
And very often I'm asked, was it the same doctor? Yeah, it was the same doctor. And at the end of the day, I think it really comes down to us recognizing the fact that when we walk into a doctor's office or when we walk in for any type of medical treatment, the first thing that someone notices about us is the color of our skin.
Yeah.
And whether or not a doctor or a healthcare professional wants to acknowledge this, we all have biases. We all have preconceived notions.
Yes, Bianca. So when we come forward, before we hand off to Tavis Smiley, I want to get your advice about how we protect ourselves as women and how we can support the causes that you're putting forth for justice and safety for Black women. It's KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is an intervention. When we come forward, includes you. KBLA Talk 1580, turning pain into power.
Congratulations to Grace Memorial Chapel and Funeral Home for being this week's winner of KBLA's Office of the Week. Your office won lunch for 10, delivered by the original Taco Pete. Congratulations to Grace Memorial Chapel and Funeral Home.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
The rent is too damn high. KBLA joins you in calling for affordable housing. The LA Tenants Union is a diverse, tenant-led movement fighting for the human right to housing for all. The LA Tenants Union demands safe, affordable housing and union rent control. They organize against landlord harassment, mass evictions, and displacement, and mobilize for the repeal of the Ellis Act and Costa-Hawkins Act. The LA Tenants Union is on a mission to strengthen tenants' political power through education, advocacy, and direct action. To get help with your eviction or other landlord-tenant issues, take action for justice, or become a member, visit latenantsunion.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, Dad, how do airplanes fly? What's in this box? Is this tree good for climbing? How are babies made? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Talking to them about gun safety in your home is a good first step, but you can do more. Always keep your guns locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Life is uncertain. It's okay to feel stressed, anxious, worried, or frustrated. It's normal. With CalHope's free and secure mental health resources, it's easy to get the help you and your loved ones need when you need it the most. Call our warm line at 833-317-4673 or live chat at calhope.org today.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DePrima on First Things First.
Bianca Dickerson-Williams, thank you for sharing your story, being so candid. How can we help you, women like you, and what ought we do to protect ourselves as Black women in these scary situations?
A couple of things. One, I would recommend watching my short documentary film. It's about 14 minutes long. It's on YouTube. Black Moms at Risk, the U.S. system dark secret of the U.S. health system. Sorry about that. I also started a nonprofit called Fighting Our Injustices, which is an organization to support Black women and advocate for them in the healthcare system as well. I think that the first thing that I would highly recommend in terms of the medical side of this is to obtain your medical records. That is your Bible as a patient. It's similar to a police report. So if there's a traffic stop, there's a detailed report of everything that happened. Most people don't know what's in their medical records. Most people don't know if their medical records are even accurate.
And
that's
you,
really
you said yours were like a cover up. That seemed like nothing even happened. That's crazy.
Yeah. So records can be changed, altered, deleted, modified without your knowledge, especially once you decide to sue someone. So once they receive notice that they're being sued, very often that's when that sort of process can happen. So it's important that you know what's in your medical records, that you actually have copies of them, because it can come back to hurt you in the event that something goes wrong in the future. Also, I would recommend that you learn in your local neighborhoods and communities what advocacy groups are out there and nonprofit groups that are out there to support you with free doulas or research information or educational information to make sure that you have a safety precautions and that you have a healthy delivery, not just for the mom, but also the child as well. There are several organizations out there that many people don't even know about. All you would really have to do is Google Black maternal health care support and then enter in your zip code.
Okay. Unfortunately, we're out of time. It's something that we could devote a lot more time for. Bianca Dickerson-Williams, thank you so much for being with us, and hopefully you'll keep us in the loop about how things go with your suing of the UCLA hospital. It's time for Tavis Smiley. He's got a great show for you as usual. My quote for today comes from Audre Lorde. She says, "When we speak, we are afraid our words will not be heard or welcomed, but when we are silent, we are still afraid, so it is better to speak." Go on, speak out. I'm Dominique DePrima. Until next time, one love.